So today I went to a seminar, an all-day seminar at the school I go to about trauma and informed practice. And in the seminar, the presenter showed a brief video that was talking about the difference about empathy and sympathy. And in it, it said that empathy tries to bring people together to make a connection, whereas sympathy drives people apart. And if you get a chance, check it out. It's Brené Brown on empathy, because I'm a huge advocate of empathy, but not in opposition to sympathy. I never thought about it that way. But when you're empathizing with someone, you're letting them know that not that you just feel bad for what they've gone through, but you understand how they feel. Even if you haven't gone through exactly the same situation, you are able to put yourself mentally and emotionally in a place where you have felt the feelings that they have felt. And being able to communicate that to another person does create a connection, because they understand that they're not alone and that you're there for them. Whereas sympathy sympathy is what people do commonly. They share platitudes in an attempt to make someone feel better. And if someone is experiencing emotional pain and distress, words are rarely going to fix it. The example they give in the video, I just had a miscarriage. At least you know you can get pregnant. That's a fucked up thing to say. I mean, and more so than just, someone passing away and you saying, you have my sympathy, and then you move on. Unless you have experienced a loss, that's kind of empty words, but it's also social expectation. That's just what you say. And oftentimes people don't know how to respond to hearing really heavy information. Somebody comes to you and says, my father sexually abused me from the time I was 6. What do you say to that?
Like, at least you ain't gay?
Yeah, that's bullshit. Or at least he's not doing it now. That's but if you don't know what to say that you don't know what to say. But people don't feel comfortable with that, because saying that you don't know what to say shows that you don't know something. It shows that you don't have the answer, and nobody wants to be seen as someone that doesn't know or doesn't have the answer. So you make up some bullshit like, at least he's not doing it now, trying to, as the video says, put a silver lining around this terribly shitty situation, when that's not needed. They need understanding, not a salve on the situation.
I have a conflict of this. Growing up, empathy is something you wouldn't hear about.
No, you wouldn't.
Sympathy was something that you always... have sympathy for somebody else. Act like you care. Act like you give a damn.
Act.
Yes.
Act like you give a damn.
That's all we ever do is say act, because that's all we are, actors. We in our homes, we act as silly and as goofy and as friendly and whatnot as we want. Some people are just professional, miserable malcontents. But when we go out, or we're on the phone with somebody, or we're visited by a friend or a loved one, we got to put on our mask, and we have to act accordingly. I'm conflicted with this because this definition fits with how I've always viewed sympathy. So going on, definition of sympathy by Merriam-Webster, it says, sympathy definition is an affinity, association, or relationship between persons or things wherein whatever affects one similarly affects the other. And then there is I think it's just sympathydictionary.com. It says harmony of or agreement in feeling, as between persons or on the part of one person with respect to another. And let's go further. Wikipedia. I'm not reading all of this. It's just what's on the page when you put in define -sympathy, all spaced. It's from the Greek words syn, together, which is syn, which means together, and pathos, feeling. So together feelings, or feeling together, which means fellow feeling, is the perception, understanding, and reaction to the distress or need of another life form. This sympathetic concern is driven by a switch in viewpoint from a personal perspective to the perspective of another group or individual who is in need. So that's where I have always understood sympathy. So if someone comes to me and say, my mother's abused me all my life, then I would take sympathy with that and say, that sucks. That sucks. And I would be like, I've suffered abuse from my parents. It may not be like yours, but maybe you could tell me what yours is like. What was yours? That's, to me, sympathy. I get it and I hear you and I understand, but, and I've listened to comparative woes. Now, that's negative. Comparative woes are negative. Comparative sympathy is negative. It's like, my dad, he just beat the hell out of my sister. Yeah, man, that sucks, But, it ain't like how it was. My dad, he would really fuck people up. It's like, whoa, Or, my dog just got hit by a car. I don't know if he's going to make it, man. My dog got thrown off a cliff. You should have saw it. It's like, wait, this, to me, I'm like, this person's coming. That's negative. You're comparing, situations. And I guess that's that silver lining part they was talking about. But it's in a different way of how we deliver and receive it.
But that's also how people have become. I read an article talking about people don't know how to converse. It's basically a kind of conversation. It's one-upmanship.
Yes, I grew up with that. With I'm gonna say his name, Gabriel.
My life sucks more than yours, or my life is greater than yours. Oh yeah, my daughter, she got an A in biology. Oh really? My son, he made all A's and he's going to Harvard on a free scholarship and he's going to skydive for a living and go to space.
And all you got left is, that's good for you.
Yeah.
That's good for you. People have been trained to speak in roughly 140 characters. That is not necessarily a common trope or just, or anything like that. No, that's legit how we are.
People don't know how to have meaningful conversations anymore. And when you have a meaningful conversation, it can be an exchange of ideas. It can be an exchange of experiences. And even if you don't have an experience that correlates with someone else's, we're humans with a wide array of emotions. At some point you would have felt how they felt. It just may have been for a different situation. And the way that we as a society use sympathy now is more to keep things at a distance. You have my sympathies and you move on. You go have your eggs, everything's great. Or they're like, I brought my son to your hospital because he was dying. You gave him drugs that he's allergic to, and now he can't breathe on his own. Oh man, I sympathize with your plight, but the contract says.
It's like, and then it's perceived as a threat when you force the empathy and sympathy on the people. It seems as a threat. Like that senator, when the dude said, my son was gunned down, her daughter was gunned down, and you're not doing anything about what's happening. Maybe the problem is yours hasn't been gunned down. That was perceived as a threat. But what he was literally doing was have some damn empathy. Mm-hmm. Have some. But no, they see it as a threat because it's like, wait, you all can die, but not us.
No.
Whoa. I'm important. You are not. You are the unwashed masses. Go on somewhere and find a river to bathe in, you know. And, you know, if you get hungry, here's some cake. You know, that's what's been going on. And it sucks because people need to know that they're not alone. You know, and that's why validation is so important. Empathy is also validation. Mm-hmm. You validate that they have gone through something. You validate that you understand that they've gone through something. You let them know that they are a person and they are respected and they are considered. Because people who have been traumatized and abused, and that's honestly probably every single person on the planet, you let them know that they mean something. And when you've been raised in your environment by your parents, your extended family, your friends, your teachers, you know, online trolls, that you don't mean anything, and when someone comes along saying, hey, you're important, you don't know how to handle that. You attack that person. You call them weak, or, you know, you call them the troll, or you're so scared because inside it's almost impossible to think that somebody out there actually gives a damn. And not for their talk show, not for the phone, and not to show off in front of friends because they're around. No, they genuinely, honestly care because that's just who they are. And that's what I've tried to be to people my whole life. I know how it feels to get insulted. I know how it feels to be ignored. I've lived my whole life being invalid to everyone. And it took its toll on me. It took me past my breaking point. Being validated is exceedingly important, and we need to do it. We need to give it, and when we are receiving it, we need to acknowledge that people are doing it. We have to acknowledge it. We have to give it. Empathy is powerful. Just a little bit of, and if you say, look, I don't have words for that, man. A movie taught me that. A simple movie. I can't remember what it was, but this person, he lost his a loved one. I think it was father or something. And at the moment when it happened, you know, the guy just looked and he said, I don't have the words. I just don't have the words. And he hugged him. They hugged. And I thought, that, to me, that meant everything. I thought to myself, you don't need to have the right words, because movies try to teach you, hey, it's a script. Have the right words to say to the right people. And when you don't have the words, you get, you know what? You're in our thoughts and prayers. It's like, really? How? Now, see, if you ask that, that's going to mess their head up. Mm-hmm. How am I in your thoughts and prayers? Are you going to help me? How? I need help. That's what people need, help, not your consideration. You know, if you're at the job, if you're working and something's going down and you are not happy at work because of something that's bad, and you bring it up to a higher up and they say, we'll take into consideration, or we'll think about it, or we'll get right on it. You know, you're the grunt worker. They expect results. They are over you. So if you come to them with something, you expect results. They expect you to know your role. There's a lot on this planet that caters to being unempathetic. Everything does. And in order for, and we have all of us have a natural survival instinct. You adapt and you survive. And in order to adapt to the way people are, you have to kill the ability to feel important. You have to kill the ability to want to be seen as an equal. You have to laugh at everything that they say and do, no matter how painful it is. And when you do that enough times, when you have everybody on this planet that does it enough times, what you get is an emotional backlash. And that is where we are. We are at the beginnings. We're past that onset. No, we are at the beginning stage. Because now, with no empathy and no positive sympathy, I'm going to have to use it that way, positive sympathy, what we get are people that are perceived as oversensitive. When someone steps on someone's toes, they say, hey man, what's wrong with you? Like, stop being a wuss. I ain't being a wuss. Fuck you and fuck anybody. That's what happens.
Yeah.
Both that's what's going on.
People break eventually. Then everybody, not gonna say everybody, because some beings being weepy and crying whenever they need to is acceptable. But let's be specific. Black men and black women, they're not supposed to have emotions
At all.
You can dump on them and dump on them and dump on them, and it's all good. Cause we can take you, I guess, cause we're the pack mules of the fucking species. But everyone has got a breaking point, and when people break, it doesn't always look the same way. So you see some angry black women. Ugh, she's just angry and loud. And,
Have you thought about what it took to get her there?
what she's going through, what she's enduring. No, you don't think about that. She's just some angry black woman. You see some angry black man throwing shit in the hospital. Ugh, look at them. He's just so aggressive. What's he even doing here? Well, he didn't just show up and start throwing shit.
Maybe
There is an explanation. There's a reason why.
the guy who was with his wife and she's black, white nurse, would not pay attention. Just, nothing's wrong with her. She's fine. She dies because she was medically neglected.
For 12 hours, she hemorrhaged internally, trying to tell them that something was wrong, and they did not take her pain and her suffering seriously.
Because she's black. And it's because in the medical field, they are trained, even today, trained that black people just are tougher, stronger, and don't need as much care.
They
They're
don't
trained
feel
that.
as much.
Yeah, thicker skin and stuff. And it's not just the John Oliver episode that we watched. No, I've seen that growing up, going into hospitals with mom and dad, having to pick him up at night or pick her or see her in the late afternoons when me and dad would pick her up and stuff like that. I've listened, I've listened to partial things when I'm walking around the hospital as a kid, and before meeting Sidra, when I would walk around, after I got an exam and whatnot, I could hear things. I hear how they spoke to different patients. It was so different. But this guy, he didn't do anything, and he's going, for the rest of his life, he's going to second guess himself and question everything, because he's like, what could I have done? Maybe I could have just grabbed the doctor or the nurse and say, hey, and shake her and be like, you got to go in there and help her right now. But being a black man, being taller, he's going to be perceived as a dire threat to their very life. They're going to call the cops. He's going to get killed.
Mm-hmm.
And all because he's trying to save his beloved. Simple as that. He wants his wife to live, and he would have to go through any extreme to do it. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I would be a dead man. Because if too many, and this is true, too many black people die because their families don't want to do anything for them because they just think they know, or they just automatically know to give up. They know what's going to happen in that doctor's office. They know it's going to be a bad, diagnosis or anything like that. They're not going to try at all. I know, I've gone through it twice. So, actually 3, 4, 5 times. It just keeps going. It just keeps going. And it's never going to end until people gain some empathy. And I test all my doctors with that. My current doctor, and he was prescribing the metformin for me, and I asked, if you have type 2 diabetes, you as a doctor, what would you prescribe to yourself? He had that tiny little pause and a small wink of his eye, that his eye slightly scrunched, and he's like, it would be the same thing. And part of me was thinking, bullshit. Bullshit. But what options do I have? And that is the problem with our society. When you remove the options from people, They don't know what to do. They're pushed into a corner. You have all the control, and now you want to play with their lives. And when you play with their lives and they start to understand it, they start either shopping for other doctors, or they're going to put you on blast. They're going to try to ruin your career, or they're going to lash out at everyone around them but the ones that's hurting them. And that is prevalent in every human being. Ferguson, hey, black people died and they rioted themselves. Just think about that. You know, you have a bad day at work, or someone has a bad day at work, they don't take it out on the manager, the supervisor, or the CEO that's ruining them and hurting them at work. They come home and beat the shit out of their wife or their kid.
Mm-hmm.
Or
their husband.
Or I've seen women come home and beat the shit out of their kids. Not the female kids, the male kids. I've seen that. Women can do no wrong, but the males are jacking things up even when they're following absolute orders. You know, and if it's like if they're like that, imagine what racists are.
Mm-hmm.
That's scary. You know, so there's negative sympathy, which is, you know, like, look, man, I just got type 2 diabetes. Yeah, but you know, at least you ain't got type 1. It's like, what the fuck? You know, it's, you know, if you got something to say.
No.
People, I wish I knew what to say to get everyone to wake up. I will go and rant and rave and rage about things that tick me off because I hate injustice. I hate people who refuse to be enlightened by the very things in front of them. It grates on my nerve to see someone in the comment section who thinks Trump is awesome and yet talk about how uneducated black people are. Donald Trump, when he speaks, he can't form a sentence. He can't keep the subject proper. He can't. And these people look down on libtards and stuff. There are people out there who will go home, beat the shit out their wife after having a hard day at work, or beat the shit out their husband or their kid, or just go around breaking stuff and then blame everything and everyone else. When I was growing up, the one thing I was told that the only thing that ever made me feel ashamed of myself when someone said, you are in charge of your actions and your attitude. When they said that, that was the first time I felt actually empowered over something. And I want to be empowered over me. I have dominion over me.
Mm-hmm.
And then when others, and it made me listen, hey, they're trying to make you do bad stuff. But what's the options? I can do the bad stuff or get the shit kicked out of me. So, survival choice. I'm in charge of my actions and my attitude. I'm also in charge of trying to fucking live.
You're in charge of your own survival.
So I would do the bad stuff and risk expulsion from school. I did stupid stuff trying to not get jacked up. There's a lot of people that want to listen to others. There's a show, and I'm not recommending it to anybody. I'm just saying this out there because they do good. I don't know if they're doing good from the absolute bottom of their heart of who they are and what they are, or if it's just for the show and they're just putting on something. I don't know. But when I watch it, it sounds genuine, at least. And the name of the show is called Talk Heathen. There's also another one, Secular Sexuality. That's the name. That's a tongue twister. You know, and I do recommend watching those and just listening to them, because sometimes you'll hear those things and they can say those words that I could never think of. But I recommend them. And this Brene Brown, Brene Brown, you can look that up. You know, you can find her.
Yeah, she's on YouTube.
just put in Brene Brown on empathy, and it'll show up. It'll be a little animation and whatnot. You know, I would put it in the comments, not comment, but the description. But the problem is, this video might take a long time to render, and I'm probably going to X out a lot of stuff. So it's right there for you to know.
It was a little eye opening for me in regards to the way people deliver their sympathy, not the actual definition, but the way they communicate their sympathy. So take a look at it.
You're like, don't be a downer, man. Don't be a downer.
See what maybe it'll open your eyes.
But the thing is, the way they go over the way she goes over it, and the way she talks about it, and the animation, it makes it seem like sympathy is absolutely negative, and it's not.
It's not absolutely negative, no, but I understand the way she's framing it because
that's how people talk now.
Way.
Yeah, that's how people talk now.
Yeah,
they don't have any sympathy. I don't know what we should call it. That's why I call it negative sympathy. You know, is negative. Empathy, there's no way to have negative empathy. You can't. Well, yes you can. Yes you can, because Donald Trump has done it. He used it. You're suffering, you're hurting, and only I can keep you safe. Only I can,
Yeah.
And people are like, man, we believe in you, Trump. You're going to do all these things.
Also known as lies.
Negative.
Yeah.
You know, I'm anyone listening to this, if you have a story or anything like that, you know, I should just maybe share it and just see how it go. Just share it online, some story, no matter how, you know, minor or major, and just, I guess, see how it goes. I've shared a lot of stories, you know. Matter of fact, not just so much a story, but my last video, my audio, I told everyone I was sick, you know, and Sunny Secular, she was like, you know, and I hope you get better. That is positive sympathy. You know, it acknowledges, it validates that, yes, I'm sick. It validates that she heard it. It validates that she's gone through it. And then she's like, I hope you feel better, because in general, you don't want someone to feel bad.
You shouldn't.
So that's positive sympathy. You know, that's positive. And for that, Sunny Secular, thank you. I want to.
Sunny Skeptic.
She changed it to secular.
Oh, okay.
She explained it in another video. I just can't remember what it is.
Okay.
I just simply respect the name.
Oh, cool.
You know, and once I called her Sunny Skeptic, and I was like, I just got done with the video before this saying secular. So, you know, I was kind of like that. And I'm still in and out of being sick is weird, but, you know, it is what it is. And I am definitely going to try to get better. I don't know what to do to get better other than to kind of stay a bit positive, upbeat, drink plenty of fluids, and hope that my body can fight this off fast. You know, that's pretty much it in terms of the sickness. So, you know, again, Sunny Secular, thank you. Thank you. Those are well wishes. You know, wish is magical, and I know she doesn't mean magic, but a well wish is a good wish, and I will take that wish positively. Do you have anything else to add?
Nope.
Okay. Well, this has been Sedrik and Sidra. This has been a long discussion, but I think one that's been needed. And if this sparks any one of you out there to do your own take on empathy versus sympathy, or vice versa, or just empathy or sympathy as it is, you know, I say do so. Link me to it. You know, not unless I'm already subscribed to you. And as well, check out Brene Brown's video on empathy. Check that out before you do yours. And I guess you could comment on what you thought of hers or whatnot, you know. But yeah, it's good to listen to that, and then, you know, look up the definitions, because they don't match. But as me and Sidra has already said, what she was talking about is how people are today, not what the definition is.
Yeah, definitions don't really explain a lot of things anymore.
And what I cut myself off of earlier before I close this out is I'll rant and rave, I'll rage and stuff. But, you know, when someone talks to me about something, you know, and about them is a personal thing like that, I listen. And if I find myself wandering because I just have low attention, span, I'll say, hold on, what? Repeat that? I didn't hear, or I was distracted. I'll just say repeat it. That's what I do. And if you think we should have a place like that on Discord, let me know. Have one-on-one private talks and things like that. Yeah, I think that's it. So, in closing now, this has been Sedrik and Sidra for Comparative Reasoning. Thank you for listening.